Good morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope you guys are having a great start to your morning so far. I got you an update on what is going on currently and what is going to happen throughout the day, overnight, into tomorrow, into the Northeast. I don't anticipate this being a major high-end event for the Ohio Valley as we're getting into later this morning, into today, into this afternoon, but I do think there's going to be a big area of widespread wintry precipitation for a lot of folks. So we're going to break that down, and then we're going to take a pretty detailed look at the Northeast on what's going on overnight, tonight, into tomorrow morning, where I think certain areas could get up to a foot of snow and a lot of sleet. It's going to be a high impact event with such a mixed bag of precipitation. So if you guys have not subscribed, consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank you all for the ongoing support. I think it's going to start to slow down after we get past this storm system. So I know I'm going to personally take that time to take a little bit of a breather with this. It's been a crazy last 2 months, and I'm so blessed that this has all happened with the growth. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. I always will be honest with y'all. I'm pretty wore out. So, after we get past this, we're going to see what there is to talk about and then go from there. But if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. It gives others an opportunity to do so too. So let's get going on. Let's get going on. That makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about what is going on. And that is some freeze and drizzle, a little bit of sleet in Texas. I'll be honest, I thought this would be a little bit more widespread than what we're seeing, but this can continue to blossom, and I think there will be a lot of moisture in this area this morning, but you're well below freezing in Dallas-Fort Worth. Any freeze and drizzle that's falling is freezing on contact, so be careful. Arkansas is a little bit more quiet this morning, but you go up and let's go on and look at the Pittsburgh radar. That'll cover a lot of areas up in this region. That area of moisture I talked about in the video last night has kind of fizzled out, but you are getting snow showers north of Pittsburgh, maybe even some flakes, some sleet pellets flying around in Pittsburgh. Not a lot of observations up, so I don't really know what's going on in this area. But this little area is freeze and drizzle. Well, some more sleet so mixed in Morgantown, West Virginia. And you might get a little bit of freeze and rain in the northwest suburbs of Washington, D.C., but y'all are well above freezing in Washington, D.C. this morning. So some flakes working its way into Pennsylvania, but this really isn't the bulk of the event going on right now. So let's take a look at what's going on here. Winter storm warnings in the pink, winter weather advisories around, and you notice there's no real winter storm warnings in the Ohio Valley, and that tells you right there that this isn't going to be a crazy high impact event. In fact, some of the southern counties in Ohio and Indiana don't even have an advisory up, and that's just because why you have this extension of winter weather advisories up here in Kentucky and these counties is because the wintry precipitation to move through overnight when you had a little bit more cold air in these areas. But it's probably pretty quiet in this area right now. Ice storm warnings up for the Laurel Highlands just east of Pittsburgh. So those are higher elevations. I had to geographically search why all that ice was showing up in this areas, and you have the highlands, so higher elevations up in this region. So you have a rare ice storm warning, and this includes a county, even one county in West Virginia, and a couple counties in the far western areas of Maryland, the state. Winter storm warnings up for the interior Northeast. This includes Boston. Winter storm watches to the south, where there's still a little bit of a question mark there. So let's go on and look at the south central U.S., and I'm not going to hold you up for 25 minutes this morning. We're going to get rocking and rolling here. We'll freeze it for about 7 a.m. This is Eastern Standard Time, so this is about right now. This is what the HRRR is trying to say what is happening. It's decently accurate, but not all the way, but all models aren't going to be perfectly accurate. As we're getting into later morning hours, if you're wanting to know what time frame we're at, here it is, 9 a.m. today, but this would be 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. This is an Eastern Standard Time. We're getting going. I do anticipate some freeze and drizzle. Maybe this is more so sleet, but a lot more of this will be freeze and rain. So I don't think you're going to see any crazy convective in nature elements to this wintry precipitation like we did yesterday. It's going to be more so maybe some heavier I think there'll be some brief burst of heavier freeze and rain in certain areas. I definitely do think so, but this will be more so light to moderate freeze and rain. I think Oklahoma City, I think y'all will experience some freeze and drizzle today, light freeze and rain, but I think the bulk of it will stay in the eastern parts of the state. Dallas-Fort Worth will continue throughout the morning to experience freezing rain, but I think it'll begin to dwindle away as we get into about the midday for Dallas. But freezing rain will continue all the way up through St. Louis, even north of St. Louis, throughout this afternoon as we're getting into the afternoon hours. But it'll begin to clear out from Missouri as we get into the late afternoon hours, maybe some lingering freezing drizzle. So the ice storm will continue through Arkansas today, but like I said, I don't think you're going to get these crazy. Like I saw pictures of lightning bolts with sleet falling yesterday. I don't think you're going to see more of that today. I think there is a chance, but I think it'll be a lesser chance of that today than yesterday. But this moves on now. So let's see what the HRRR model is showing as far as snowfall totals. Not a whole lot. A little bit of a dusting, a couple inches possible in Illinois. Maybe a dusting of snow or sleet into St. Louis, and then Kansas City, maybe a half inch to an inch of snow. Sleet totals, not a lot. The sleet showing up really isn't, per the latest HRRR model, not showing near as much sleet today. I'm not sure what y'all's grand totals of sleet totals up were, especially in areas like northern Arkansas, southern Missouri. I know some areas were getting crazy foot and a half tall drifts of sleet piling up off the side of their house and stuff. So, I'll be interested to see if anybody lives in those areas. Definitely tell me what y'all are seeing. HRRR model says, and remember, cut these probably by half, but still shows some significant freeze and rain accumulation today for portions of Arkansas and Missouri. It wants to show a lot into western Tennessee, but I don't really see that. We'll see how that goes, but maybe some freeze and rain drifts into that region. Depends on all depends on what the temperatures are in this region, but definitely a solid glaze a day, anywhere from a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch in certain areas of ice, and it will continue to be light accumulations in areas of Dallas and things like that. Let's get into the Ohio Valley, see what we're kind of looking at here. And I want to try to make it where I can see the time frame too, but not cut off the Ohio Valley. Look at your bottom of your screen down here. We're getting into 3 p.m. today. That round of frozen precipitation moves in. Some snow for areas in Illinois, freezing rain for other areas, sleet for other areas. It's just going to be a mixed bag. But I think southern sections, as we're getting into later this afternoon into early evening, we'll see mainly rain. You see this low pressure riding up and how close it's getting right here into Kentucky. That's bringing a lot of warm air, even to the surface, not just aloft, but to the surface too, which means everything in these situations. And the aloft means a lot too, as far as what type of precipitation falls. But obviously, if it's below freezing at the surface and you have a stout warm nose, which you will in this place, it's going to fall in rain. And these southern sections in the Ohio Valley, Ohio, Indiana, that's why you don't even have winter weather advisories up for these areas. But if you're in Indianapolis, a wintry mix of everything today. I don't think it's going to be crazy accumulations or anything, but maybe a glaze of ice, a little bit of sleet, maybe a dusting of snow, something like that. This will continue to move through as we're getting into around the 9 p.m. time frame. So I think Dayton, for example, freezing rain, a little bit of sleet today. Nothing crazy. I just don't think this is going to be as high as an impact event for the Ohio Valley as maybe it could have been. But I think Cleveland might be north enough to where y'all experience mainly snow today, maybe a few inches of snow. Chicago, a few inches of snow today is definitely possible. Y'all be all cold enough on all levels of the atmosphere for all snow for the most part. And this goes on and moves up. But I think if you're in a large chunk of Ohio, especially the whole entire southeast half of Ohio, if you will, most of this will be rain, except initially. Pittsburgh, rain. The highlands right here of Pennsylvania, you get locked into some freezing rain and stick at it. But I think, a pretty heavy rain in Pittsburgh is likely possible until we get into the overnight hours. How much can we see? Well, like I said, a few inches is definitely possible in Cleveland. You're getting into central Ohio, probably just a dusting of snow at most. And then you're getting into basically the northern half of Indiana. A few inches of snow is possible later today and this afternoon. Maybe around 3 to 4 inches in Chicago. Not a big time snow event. Southern Michigan, a few inches of snow generally for everybody. So nothing too crazy. Sleet totals for these areas, not much. I think someone can maybe see a quarter inch, a half inch of sleet, which is significant sleet, especially on the roads. And central areas just south of the heaviest snow, but not a whole lot. But it gives you the general idea. This is just going to be a messy, kind of moderate event of snow, sleet, and freezing rain for these central areas of the Ohio Valley. Freezing rain, I do think there could be a solid glaze anywhere from basically a trace to a tenth of an inch of ice is definitely possible in the Ohio Valley where the freezing rain falls. So definitely pay attention to that. The National Weather Service for this region, it pretty much agrees with the HRRR model. You could get 3 to 5 inches of snow in Chicago today, and pretty much agrees with geographical regions I just mentioned for the HRRR model. Not a whole lot of difference here. Freezing rain for the National Weather Service. A glaze is possible in those same areas. Still seeing, down here in southeast Missouri, northeast Arkansas, where maybe as much of another quarter-inch of ice could accumulate throughout the day today. So the ice storm will rage on for these areas, but hopefully it will not end up being as bad as what it possibly can be. I know most areas were saved yesterday with a lot of sleet, so that's always good. So let's talk about the Northeast. As we're getting into about 9-10 p.m. tonight, this is Eastern Standard Time, so if you're confused about the time, it's up here, and the date's even right here beside it. Look at all this freezing rain moving into Pennsylvania, even sneaking into areas of Maryland, but I think most of y'all will stay rain. Some pockets of freezing rain. Just watch your temperatures, especially if you have a weather station at home where you can actually monitor what your temperatures are at your exact location. But a lot of freezing rain moves in overnight. Some sleet will mix in. The northern sections of Pennsylvania, I think, will stay all snow for a long period of time. This moves in where there's more cold air entrenched into this region, and it could start out as freezing rain and sleet for New York City, northern New Jersey. And you're all freezing rain and sleet for areas of even eastern Pennsylvania. You get into northeast Pennsylvania, like Scranton and things like that. Maybe a brief burst of snow as you get into about the midnight time frame tonight. You're getting into the early morning hours, 1, 2, or 3 o'clock in the morning, and the column crashes. And then right into here, this is going to be some intense snow. And basically right before it mixes the sleet, like for example, look at this crazy sounding here around Scranton, Pennsylvania, as you're around the 2 a.m. time frame per the latest HRRR model. This is barely all snow. It might be mixing. It might be some slow snow sleet mix. But look at the DGZs. Look at this moistened column here. Dew points are right in here. You got warm air advection. The surface is 27 degrees. I would say this is a extremely wet snow sounding where you have flakes falling probably the size of Mars. Just kidding. Probably flakes the size of $50 at least. And this typically happens. You get your heaviest wet snow rapid accumulation right before you mix the sleet. It always happens. The snowflake growth really increases as basically the atmosphere basically just moistens up. And you begin to get that warm air aloft that really starts to mix in the atmosphere. So therefore, you start to mix with sleet, and you start to get the dreaded ice that starts to mix in. But, you know, look here in Connecticut, Rhode Island, you're getting to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I really think if you want to see these crazy snowfall rates, you need to get up early or either stay up really late if you're a big winter weather fan for the Northeast. But whole entire southern New England, Rhode Island, Connecticut, what's interesting here is that once it starts you out, for example, in New York City, northern sections of Long Island, is all ice, you know, freezing rain, sleet. And then the kind of the column, basically dynamic cooling occurs. It crashes, and you might go to brief heavy snow in New York City, just north of New York City. Could really have maybe an hour or two of heavy snow before, like for instance, let me look at a sounding right here in New York City. Heavy snow at 31 degrees, as that warm nose doesn't quite get over that 32-degree line right into here, that 0 degrees Celsius. So be interesting to see what happens there if you can get a brief burst of an hour of really heavy snow in New York City before you inevitably mix to freezing rain and then potentially go over to all rain. But this is heavy snow moving into everybody waking up in the southern New England, heavy snow in Boston. And then you begin to mix with sleet, I think, as you're waking up in Connecticut. But this is a big question. Even the National Weather Service in Boston circles this area as a big question. How quickly do you mix the sleet and ice in this section? Do you stay snow for longer? It's a big question mark here on how quickly you change the sleet in Connecticut, Rhode Island, even southern sections of Massachusetts. Even the latest HRRR model gets that sleet line very close to Boston, and then at the tail end of the event, as you're getting the late morning, you actually do mix the sleet and honestly might change to all rain. And then by the time you get into the afternoon, evening hours, maybe some light snow wrapping around here gets kind of flows in from the north, and cold air crashes in, and then that's all she wrote with this storm. But HRRR model, as far as snowfall totals, got over a foot in Boston before y'all might mix the sleet, and some very high-end snowfall totals in northern Connecticut, well over the 10-inch mark. But the southern Connecticut area, for example, maybe just 4 to 6, 7 inches before mixing with a lot of sleet. But this brings some significant snowfall accumulations into areas like Long Island before y'all switch to sleet and things like that. So maybe several inches of snow per the latest HRRR model, which is just one run. And then, the northern sections of Pennsylvania, several inches of snow is very possible. The interior sections of the Northeast, though, this will be a banger of a winter storm for sure. Several inches of snow possible, well over a foot in the higher elevations where y'all stay all snow. And this will be a high impact event. So certainly a big event for the Northeast. You look at sleet, and this is my biggest question mark is how much does these sleet totals verify? But it shows a lot of heavy snow, sleet in Pennsylvania. A few inches of sleet. Like I said, it takes a long time for sleet to pile up. So I think you can cut these totals in half at least. But it shows a lot of sleet into southern New England. Even New York City, an inch of sleet. Long Island, a lot of sleet. Northern New Jersey, a lot of sleet. Eastern Pennsylvania, a lot of sleet is possible for these areas. A lot of sleet to me is an inch of sleet. I mean, it takes a very long time for these areas to pile up. There is going to be some freezing rain in these areas, and there's some nasty freezing rain starting to trend into northern New Jersey, so we'll have to watch that. But I think there is going to be an all-out ice storm, like I said, in these these higher elevations in the Pennsylvania, especially in central and southern Pennsylvania, especially in the higher elevations, where that warm nose really gets in and warms up the mid-levels of the atmosphere and low levels. And even though you're cold enough at the surface for snow aloft, you get a warm nose and it melts it all to liquid and then it freezes at the surface. So National Weather Service for these regions, heavy snow. 10 inches of snow showing up for Boston, and just north of Boston even more. But you notice, what I'm starting to notice is this heavier snow starting to trend a little north. And you're starting to think that a little bit more sleet's going to mix in, especially south of Boston. And that's what I've been mentioning on, especially when the NAM was showing, that it was possible that you could have some mixing issues. And I think you're going to have some mixing issues, especially in these sections right into here. I really do think so. So the ensembles, the European ensembles, a good bit of snow predicted. Not as much as the HRRR model, but still very close to 10 inches in Boston. And, just figure out where you are on this map. But it does a good job of showing, hey, maybe 6 to 8 inches for northern Connecticut, maybe just 3 to 5 at most for southern areas. And this is just snow for southern areas of Connecticut and Rhode Island and southeast Massachusetts. I think you will definitely mix here and maybe just flat out go to all rain. But the European ensembles does not show much rain and much snow into New York City. But solid signal, Buffalo, several inches of snow is possible. The GEFS ensembles pretty much agree with the European ensembles, same thing. The only difference here is really there's not much difference at all, honestly, actually. But chances to see a 1/4 inch of ice, it's elevated right here in Pennsylvania, where you had the highlands just east of Pittsburgh, where you could have an 80 to 90% chance to see a 1/4 inch of ice. So take that serious, guys, for sure. As far as snow, chances to see 8 inches of snow. Let's do that. Let's go on and zoom into these regions right into here. Chances to see 8 inches of snow through Friday evening. You have an 80 to 90% chance around in the Boston area, Concord, and areas of northern sections of Massachusetts have an 80 to 90% chance to see 8 inches of snow. But notice how much of a cutoff there is down here in Connecticut and Rhode Island. So big question marks with that, with the mixing line. But this is gonna be a wintry mess for a lot of folks. But Boston is a big kind of threshold or a mark here city-wise of where's the mixing line gonna mix up. So that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a great day. Stay blessed and be safe out there.